I get the vibe. Like, I mean, you can really deconstruct this movie. Should you? I don't know.
You loved it. You loved it. You loved it!
Drive-by movies. My name's Blaise.
My name is James.
And never have I ever seen The Swimmer.
The Swimmer comes from the year 1968. What's it about? It's about a man who spends his days swimming in as many pools as possible in a small suburban town. I have never heard of this movie. It stars Burt Lancaster, an actor that I've heard names of, or I've heard his name a lot, that's what I meant to say. And then I'm not too familiar with his other work. I don't know what his standout movie is. I'm wondering if this is. Where did you hear about this movie? Is this movie technically a classic? What made you decide to watch it on Never Have I Ever? Let's get into it, Blaise.
So, yeah, this is kind of a random movie, I guess. It's not like a movie that everyone necessarily knows, but it is a cult classic. This is one of those cult classic movies. It's not a classic film necessarily, but it's one of those things when you watch the trailer, you're drawn in to be like, wait, what? Like, this is such a weird premise for a movie. What is this movie going to be, you know? The reason that this came onto my radar was that Grindhouse Releasing has just reissued a Blu-ray for this film. If you don't know who Grindhouse Releasing is, it's a DVD distribution company and film distribution company that does stuff like Evil Dead. It is actually the editor, Bob Murawski's, or distribution company, like small Blu-ray label essentially, and he just picks up movies, puts them on Blu-ray. I think they even have cuts of the Evil Dead that are out there, like special editions on Blu-ray. So it's a pretty cool company that takes those classic kind of drive-in style movies and incorporates the Grindhouse branding. So it was one of those that they just recently released this version of The Swimmer, and I was like, wait, I haven't seen this movie, but I have heard of it before, and I have wanted to check it out. So what better way than watching it here on Never Have I Ever? And this is an absolute bonkers movie. It's such a weird plot that you can understand why it got made, because just that plot really intrigues you. It's about Burt Lancaster's character who is at a pool party, sees a bunch of pools on the way to his house, looking onto the horizon at his house. He's like, what if I just swam all the pools on the way back to my house? He's a dreamer, that idea, that concept to do that is just such a weird plot, I guess, that I was like, I want to watch this. I want to see, really who is this swimmer? And as the famous logline goes, if you see the swimmer, will you see the swimmer in you, or something like that? That's how it goes in the trailer. And it cracked me up. I'm like, will I? What is this? Anyways, I don't think you've seen this movie before, correct?
No, I've never heard of it. And so it was an interesting watch. Where to begin, kind of. The trailer kind of spoils a lot of the movie, not completely, but still it's very I was still unprepared on what I actually saw within this movie. And this movie is really old, so I feel like it's okay for us to talk about spoilers, even though probably a lot of people aren't too familiar with this movie. I hope it's not, and I hope people will check it out, because I absolutely really and genuinely enjoyed this movie. It not for some reasons why some people would like it, but mainly for Grindhouse cult following reasons as well too. I just felt uncomfortable watching Burt Lancaster's performance. He's such a creep, made me feel bizarre and icky and gross watching it. But wow, this movie is so beautifully shot though, color wise, and then also the musical score is fantastic in this movie too. It really doesn't match the vibe of what's going on in the movie, and just the whole movie, it's definitely not it's a drama, but there's an intensity to it with just when are we going to get more information and stuff. There's little subtle hints throughout the movie and stuff, and you can kind of see it in the trailer. What the hell? What is this movie about? Is this guy crazy or something?
Well, I've got to be on my way.
I'm swimming home. You're swimming home?
I figured out there's a river of pools all the way to my house.
And when you're watching, like, no, genuinely, this dude is crazy. And as it gets like further along, like, you know, like I really loved seeing like his like descend into madness towards the end of the movie and stuff. It's just weird to think that this movie takes place, you know, over like a few hours span. And speaking of, though, like he starts out at a pool party. Was it a pool party, or he just crashed at that family's pool? Because they seemed unexpected to have him in that first like 3 minutes of the movie.
See, that's the thing, like, that you bring up a valid point there. I'm not entirely sure. I think the way I like to think about this movie, at least after watching it, is like, this is what if a dream becomes a nightmare, or you realize that the dream all along was simply a nightmare. Essentially, it's this idea. He's like, when you kind of watch in the beginning, you have this idea. He has this idea like, oh, I'm gonna like swim in all these pools. It creates a river that can essentially take me back home. But like, I see that Burt Lancaster, that character right there, as you know, a dreamer. He's creating this wild concept that no one's ever kind of created. What if I swim back home through everyone's pool? He happens to know everyone, of course, because they're neighbors. But it's like, kind of how you slowly each pool start to realize that who you thought this character is, the dreamer, isn't quite, you know, what you thought all along. Yeah, like you mentioned, this first opening pool party, is it even a pool party? It's just him and a couple, and their kind of dialogue between each other seems a little weird. Like, I almost thought that they were like swingers at first or something, because they're drinking martinis during the middle of the day. Is this a weekend? Is this a Tuesday? What's going on here?
They don't want him to leave also, too. Like, this definitely has Sunday vibes. Like, while watching, I was like, oh, this is for sure a Sunday and stuff.
Sunday brunch crowd.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like this weird vibe, like, what's going on here? But you clearly get this idea that he is like an alcoholic, kind of, because, you know, he has no problem drinking. Everyone else has a bad hangover, but he doesn't mention that he has one, I felt like. And that's kind of weird. Like, why wouldn't he if everyone has such a bad hangover? I get the vibe. Like, I mean, you can really deconstruct this movie. Should you? I don't know. But, like, I get this vibe that, like, maybe we should talk about what we kind of thought the movie was about. Because it is very, like, it's not open-ended, but it's very open to interpretation. So that's, like, the thing is, like, I felt like he's kind of like just got out of rehab or something, where he's gone, or therapy or something, for a suspended amount of time, to where he goes to these people's house at a party or something, and then wakes up and, you know, they're having fun. I don't know if they're swingers. Like, I got that vibe, at least. It was kind of weird. Like, I don't know. But
yeah, well, what I love about this movie is that nothing is spelled out. Like, you do see characters from his past, and, like, you know, there's like his mistress is the second last place that he goes before he gets home. Then we start to get more realization at the public pool, which I loved. I thought that was such a different scene compared to what we had seen before and stuff. And that's where we get a lot more information. We're like, oh no, this is like the lower class, and even they are saying like, what are you doing here? Like, you owe us money. Like, and that's where I was just like, all right, this is coming into terms. I was like the whole movie I was joking around saying like, oh, like he definitely like murdered his wife, or like something happened like that. And I mean, not to say that that's like wrong, because we still don't know what happened with his wife and his two daughters that he brings up throughout the movie. And, you know, spoilers, but at the end, when he finally gets there, the house is very clearly abandoned. He doesn't have access to that house anymore. Like, where is he living? Is he homeless? Is he like, you know, living in an apartment somewhere? Like, I think that's like not far off, like him coming out of rehab recently or something. Yeah. He's definitely like the kind of guy where just like, this is just me like kind of assuming things, or this is what like my brain is telling me. But like someone who obviously like peaked in high school, came from a rich family, got a job handed to him in New York City, has his beautiful house, beautiful wife, cheated on her, she probably left him, has these kids that don't respect him anymore, and he just keeps living in the past, thinking that like he is the coolest person ever, and he keeps acting that way and stuff. And when he finally lost everything, like, you know, he's still trying to stick with living in the past. And like, you know, starts off with him trying to hook up with this babysitter girl that he used to know like when she was a child, and now that she's grown up and beautiful, he's like, oh, must like have her. Doesn't get her, then meets some random girl at a party, hopes to bring her with him, but she's married. And then he runs into his mistress, says that like she had the best love or loving in her life from him, and like obviously that wasn't true. And he was very menacing in that scene. Like, there was just a lot to dissect within this movie, but nothing's spelled out, which like was like crazy and like just like really caught me off guard, and like I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have to say, I think one of the things that really sums this movie and like what you could think about what the plot of this film, and it's really kind of a character study into this character portrayed by Burt Lancaster. But essentially, it's when he gets to the pool where there's no water in it. He's been swimming all along, going from pool to pool. He's even been like outrunning horses and like stuff. Like those scenes kind of cracked me up. Or even running across the freeway. A lot of that stuff like cracked me up. It's just weird.
Also, the montage of him jumping over the fences with the babysitter. I was like, oh my god, this is so fucking cringe.
But I don't know. I loved it. Like it was weird. It was absolutely weird.
That was a 5-minute slow motion scene though. That like, I mean, it's shot beautifully, and also like just wanted to shout out also like the extreme close-ups on his eyes and like the weird visuals he's seen within those moments. Like those are really cool. I thought.
Yeah, I loved it. But the thing that I think about most with this film and like how it really, what I thought about it was when he gets to this pool that has no water in it, and there's a little boy there, and the little boy's like, "How are you gonna swim there? There's like no water." And he's like, "You don't need to like have the water, as long as you imagine it, it'll be there." Or he says something along those lines, and that's essentially his whole life. It's just like, we get to him at the beginning, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go home." He's like talking about his daughters when he's talking to the babysitter, like, "Oh yeah, we could use you. Like you can babysit for us." But like the further and further you get along in the film, you realize like there's no daughters to babysit for. Like what are you talking about? Like I don't know. He just his reality is so warped, and the further and further you get along, he keeps warping to satisfy his needs. And then he even gets home at the end and you realize, it's an abandoned, derelict house and there's really nothing for him there. He starts breaking down and crying. So it's just such an absolutely surreal movie, especially for 1968 to be made. And it's really not like the other movies in the 60s from America. It really has kind of a European sensibility, which was enjoyable. I don't know if this was really a drive-in movie or like what caused its success, but it was one of those things that now it has a really big following, especially in the art house like film community. Like a lot of people who have seen it can appreciate it. Has a lot of art house values, but it's still in such a weird like culty kind of spot that, you know, like not everyone's gonna love this movie, but the people that are gonna like it are actually gonna really enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not for everyone, but like I feel like the people who watch our shows like know what we like at this point, and this is just a different watch, like a random street theater. I know you're watching this. Check out this movie. I'd love to see your review about this movie.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. We're gonna challenge you. Go ahead and check out this movie because we want you to check this out if you haven't already. I don't know. Maybe you've seen it on your channel. You've seen a ton of movies, so I would actually love to see your review on The Swimmer. So. Anyways, that's gonna kind of sum this week up, guys. If you haven't seen The Swimmer, I recommend checking it out. It's available. It's actually not available, but if you click that Amazon affiliate link in the description box below, you can watch it on Amazon and help support our show, which we really appreciate.
Yeah, after doing that, come back here, comment, let us know what you thought about the movie and our thoughts about the movie. It's a really fun movie to talk about. So also smash that like button. That's a great way to help us out. And hit that subscription button and notification bell to get all our latest updates.
Check us out on all social media, guys. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're all available there. Follow us and smash those like buttons. Anyways, guys, that's it for Never Have I Ever this week. Tune in next week for a brand new video.